with over 20 years of experience. Suzi Tucker is a leading teacher of constellation, family constellation, and also a writer. And what made me so excited, Suzi, is to know that all the books of Bert, that you had such a hand in getting them published, in English, and through you've co-founded the publishing house with Jeffrey Zieg. And you had the good fortune to collaborate with Bert on publishing most of his titles in English. And Suzi hosted Bert in the United States many times. And under the direct guidance of Bert, she co-founded the Bert Hellinger Institute in the United States. And Suzi maintains a busy schedule as a presenter, teacher, facilitator, and writer. She is privileged to have served on the guest faculties of Manhattan College, the NYC Open Center, Kripalu, the Shift Network's Ancestral Healing Summit, and more. And in 2024, Suzi will be teaching on the faculties of the Western Constellations Intensive, the International Systemic Constellation Conference, the Bali Intensive, the Omega Institute, and others. Suzi is an essayist and a contributor to numerous publications in the field of psychology and well-being, and she is the author of Gather Enough Fireflies. And she has several new books in the works. And this sentence, it really touched my heart. The sentence that Suzi, you shared is Suzi is immensely proud to be called teacher by some of the most brilliant lights in the family constellation field today. And the labels of teacher and student are exchanged quite regularly within these circles. Suzi, thank you so much for taking this time and being here with us today. And I welcome you as our keynote speaker. And we are here to be with you and be in your presence.
First of all, can you hear me? Is my mic okay? Yeah, wonderful. Thank you for that introduction. I recognize some of it. I almost know who I am sometimes. And as I'm listening to you, I think, like many people, I stumbled into this field. I never really chose it. I don't think I've chosen it yet, but I keep going. I just want to say a couple of words. One is that I started out in publishing, and I met Bert through publishing. And we met really through language. And it was always really so important to him to get things right, because he knew the weight of language and he knew the profundity of poetry. And it really was the basis of our initial relationship. I want to thank, I'm very nervous, and I think I should be. I think that's appropriate, actually. I trust it. And I thought of something Bert said as I look at the screen. In the very beginning, his business model, I suppose, was let many flowers bloom. And I look at this screen and I think, oh my gosh, many flowers have bloomed, many flowers continue to bloom. And there is an inherent, intrinsic wholeness in that evolution. So paradoxically, there is a wholeness in that evolution. I want to thank Colette for having this crazy idea to invite me. And I want to thank, I'm going to go to my notes a little bit here. I want to thank Annie and Redka and all the beautiful others who went along with this idea. I was surprised and I'm truly honored. I'm honored to sit in the virtual space with Barbara Morgan and Bertolt Olshammer and Sebastian Green and all those involved in building the Spanda-Ochre community. We come together to celebrate the life and work of Bert Hellinger and to give a wink and let him know that we continue to gather, we continue to learn, and we are still listening. Somebody mentioned Jeffrey Zeig, who was my business partner at Zeig Tucker. And I really credit Jeff for, in part, bringing Bert to the United States. He's not a name that's brought up a lot, but he was essential. And he was essential to me because when I first received a manuscript from Bert, I promptly rejected it. And part of the reason I rejected it was because it was coming into a field of psychotherapy that I felt wouldn't welcome it. And it was Jeff who said, you know, would you look again? And I did. I suspect that perhaps I knew that my life would change, and I was a little bit resisting that transition. When I received this invitation, this extraordinary invitation, I immediately began to think about the title that you came up with. And I thought about the simplicity in one way of the title and the extraordinariness in another way of these particular words put together. My annotation is what follows. Starting with the word legacy, I think about the wide and the myriad that continues to flow from and through Bert Hellinger. Legacy is, in part, the words, phrases, observations, and life encounters that comprise his paradigm-shifting work. His chipping away at the old structures to reveal more fluid and more inclusive contours. I met him along with Hunter Beaumont and Harold Honan at a psychotherapy conference in Washington, D.C. in 1999, I think it was. And that's when it became immediately apparent to me how important it was to break down the walls of various approaches so that we could meet the true complexity of our accompaniment of other human beings. And not just psychology, of course. Bert's legacy opens onto and is made from a confluence of influences and observations from the worlds of psychology, poetry and art, religion, his family of origin, from grief and memory, from Germany, India, South Africa, Ireland, Russia, Israel, China, Mexico, downtown New York City, and so many other places. The information and expansions that emanate from open, curious encounters with oneself and with the world. Through his work, we meet Rilke, Lao Tzu, Freud, Erikson, Satir, Castaneda, mother and father, older brother, and so many others. Legacy is, in this case, an unfoldment, a movement that we inherit and simultaneously contribute to. All of us, each voice, a part of a chorus that is myriad and wide. In this sense, legacy is not merely a souvenir from the past, an old map of what was, a medal, a diamond ring, a stack of money, or an acre of land. It is a living compass to guide our minds and hearts into richer communion. Thus, a central aspect of Bert's legacy is the essential invitation to orient to the more life, more love toward a future not yet known. What is already known may be safe, but repetition traps the future in the past. We see that now across the globe. And many of us are all too familiar with this habit and its consequences. Sometimes our family may have done it, and some of us may still be doing it, trapping the future in the past, narrowing the parameters to the limitations of what was. Bert's legacy is a standing invitation, perhaps sometimes an admonition, to awaken to our responsibility for caring for the inner compass rather than following others' maps. A map is completed by someone else to tell us what was, whereas our internal compass orients us toward the horizon so that we may step in with ease and greater inclusion, even for what we don't understand. In short, we only know a little something about Bert's legacy now. Our descendants will have more to say. And greater love, not just love, greater love. For me, this phrase offers a powerful vision of radical inclusion, meaning from the root, in the dirt, not high up where we separate, but underground, where the root system gives birth to all of us, not just some of us. For me, greater love is a dedication, a practice, a devotion, even as, especially when we are called to turn back or sometimes to turn on one another. It is a practice, a devotion, a dedication, a commitment. Like much of the constellation lens, greater love is easy to say, to put on a t-shirt or a bumper sticker, but it's difficult to implement. It is a lifelong journey. Though it brings relief, we are, most of us, weaned on the notion of comparison and competition. Who belongs based on very specific ideas of measurement? Who is richer, smarter, stronger, and more? Who has the right color skin, the right God, loves the right people, according to various contexts, the conscience of various separations. The cult of belonging fueled by our communities of exclusion. Greater love does not take its cue from fear, expelling or shunning the unfamiliar. Greater love holds everyone in its care, no matter their measure. Greater love holds everyone in its care, no matter their measure. Greater love is not relegated to the sentimental, though it houses it. Sentimental love tends to be insular, so beautiful often, but based on the narrow ground, you and me and him, me and her, the small we. It is based in a certain way on a kind of an exclusion, an intimate selection. It works in the home of us. But if we take sentimental love out into the world, it is too narrow a lens, too exclusive for the wide. Think about the word exclusive. Think about the word exclusive. We go to exclusive restaurants. We join exclusive clubs. The community in this sense is built on leaving others out, denying the rights of others. We are exclusive. Greater love touches every being. And greater love isn't transactional. Doesn't request or demand anything. It is a stance, a condition, a lens. Bert Hellinger loved hundreds, perhaps thousands of people in this way, thousands of beings in this way. Some of us felt special, of course, as though we were in his exclusive club. But truthfully, at least for me, I stumbled into it accidentally and had the smarts to stay. That's it. I was not anointed. I showed up and I had the smarts to stay. In my experience of Bert, even when close care was tested, what often sustained was his access to greater love. Not always, but usually. He could return to the greater love even when there was a significant breach in the close relationship. And most of the seed sentences, what some people refer to as healing sentences, or perhaps stem sentences, are sentences that reflect and add to greater love. Where sentimental love falters or ends, greater love endures. I am your daughter, she says. I am grateful for life. I am your descendant, we say. We stand on the shoulders of those who came before. These are reflections and contributions to greater love. The last time I organized a gathering for Bert in the United States was 2008 in Louisville, Kentucky. I had no idea at the time of this synchronicity. Thomas Merton had a revelation in Louisville, Kentucky. He was from France. Thomas Merton was a writer and a monk, very important to spiritual, philosophical thinking. He had a mystical experience in Louisville. And there is a plaque on a corner that actually talks about this mystical experience. I don't know if that exists anywhere else in the United States. We honor generals and soldiers and various activists, but mystical experiences, I've only ever seen this one plaque. The plaque reads, in Louisville, at the corner of 4th and Walnut, in the center of the shopping district, I was suddenly overwhelmed with the realization that I loved all of those people. They were mine and I theirs, that we could not be alien to one another, even though we were total strangers. It was like waking from a dream of separateness, a spurious self-isolation in a special world, the world of renunciation and supposed holiness. This sense of liberation from an illusory difference was such a relief and such a joy to me that I almost laughed out loud, as if the sorrows and stupidities of the human condition could overwhelm me. Now I realize what we all are. And if only everybody could realize this, but it cannot be explained. There is no way of telling people that they all are walking around shining like the sun. This is a plaque on a corner, on a street, in a city. And when I read this plaque, I thought, Bert Hellinger could have carved those words into this plaque. And in fact, he went on, I think, to accompany people as they discovered that they walk around shining like the sun. That was his attempt, and that is our attempt to teach one another and to know it in ourselves. Greater love indeed. Bert taught me about the power and relief of this practice, to belong and to welcome, to feel at ease in this big circle, at ease in the big circle, to keep trying. My small identity, the badges of woman, white, Hungarian, Welsh, atheist, writer, facilitator, mere taglines. The compass I hold in my heart orients me in a different way. I am human. I am you. I am human. I am you. One last thing for now. In 2008, during this workshop, my husband was dying. It's just like yesterday. Soon after this workshop, he died. Bert called me from Germany to express his condolences. At one point, he said, eventually, if you allow it, the hole that has been left can become a space. At the time, I could hardly hear him. In fact, I may have been a little irritated by the pronouncement. Over the years, however, the hole has filled in and it has become a space. And a greater love has carried me into this very moment where I am so happy to cross paths with you. Thank you.